In this class we want to talk about competitor analysis. Now, this is an important part in the strategic planning process. It's an important component in all of the factors that must be considered when engaging in strategic planning. So, a very important topic. Now let's look at the approaches to competitor analysis. Well, one possible approach is to ignore the competition. Not advisable and not a very good strategy, but simply act as if they don't exist. We'll see later and in other classes that this could be downright disastrous. The competitors will be able to outcompete on many fronts, and it could ultimately lead to the demise of the business itself. But nonetheless, it is a strategy, so we'll offer it as one. We say just ignore it and have that as a strategy. Just put it up because it is a possibility. Secondly, study the competitors by whatever means necessary. Now this may be unethical, could be even illegal, could involve spying. But the approach may represent a lack of confidence or even a criminal approach to business. It's not really acceptable behavior, but clearly companies want to know what their competitors are doing. They want to know what their plans are, what their research plans are. They want to know what their pricing policy is, what their costs are. They want to know lots of facts about their competitors. And sometimes they may use methods to find these out that are simply not acceptable. Most commonly used in business is the approach of just simply tracking the competition, watching them, collecting data about their behavior, seeing what the public facade of the business is. What's the business saying to the buying community about its product and about the way it approaches business, and so it's looking at the way the business presents itself and looking at the way it changes as the environment changes around it. Now that's most commonly used. So the businesses are in competition with each other and they simply watch each other and modify their approaches according to what the competitors are doing. That's the most common approach. Competitor analysis has several important roles in strategic planning. Well, it helps management understand the competitive advantages and disadvantages relative to the competitors. So it helps management know what their strengths and weaknesses are. That's important. It helps the management get a fix, get to understand what the competitors' past, present and future strategies are likely to be. So they build up knowledge of the competitors and their approach to planning. It provides an information basis for developing strategy. It provides information, and strategies can be worked out better, clearly, if there is good information. And if the strategy is based on sound information, based from observations and anticipation, sound anticipation of what the competitors are doing, if the strategy is based on that, then presumably a competitive advantage will flow from it. So that's quite positive. And it's also helpful because it may help management to try to calculate or estimate what the likely returns on their investments will be, given the fact that they have got competitors and given the fact that the competitors are actively competing with them. and engaging in the same types of processes indeed as they are. The competitors are watching them every bit as much as they are watching the competitors. So when prices change, all the other companies, the competitors, will look to change their price perhaps. If one company launches a new variant of the product, the rest may follow suit. So trying to work out what the returns on the investments will be, it is necessary to try and calculate what the responses will be exactly. Clearly, investments are expensive, and the onus is on management to try and work out whether it's worthwhile or not. And to do that, they need to know what the competitors are doing. So some useful questions when doing this. Well, first of all, it's important to know who are the competitors. Who precisely are they? There will be near competitors and far competitors. The near competitors are ones that are producing very similar products. There will be a gradation because other people may be producing products in the category but not necessarily close substitutes. So who exactly are the competitors? And what threats do the competitors pose to the business? It's important to know what the strategies being pursued by the competitors are. What are the strategies? What are they attempting to do? Because only if the company knows what the competitor strategies are can it respond to those strategies. Sorry, I jumped forward. What is the profile of and objectives of the competitors? How big are the competitors? How well capitalized are they? What's their efficiency like? What are they attempting to do? That's important. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the competitors? All companies have weaknesses. What are their weaknesses? All companies have strengths perhaps. What are they? If the strengths and weaknesses are known, strategies may be devised to counter these or to exploit them. If it's a weakness, exploit the weakness. Determine the likely responses on the part of competitors to changing strategies and business environmental changes. So try to work out if the company does change price, what will the competitors do? If the company introduces a new product, what will the competitors do? Try to work out in advance what is their likely response. Anticipate and then have a strategy to counter it should it arise. Now the sources of information that may be used in competitor analysis. Well, Davidson, a writer in the area, he sources the information under three categories. First of all, we have recorded data. This is the easiest to find. It's available within the company or even in the public domain. It could be published accounts or product brochures or press releases. So it's what's available, generally available. Then we have observable data. May require a little more effort. Data may be collected from many sources including marketing data, product placement, design, pricing, press comments, trade publications. In other words, it's not freely available. You have to dig it out slightly. It takes a little bit of effort to try and find it, but it can be done. It's observable data. It can be found. So it's there. And the final type, according to Davidson, is opportunistic data. Basically relies on luck. It may be collected from interviews or informal meetings, discussions with customers and suppliers, past employees of the competitor, the internet, trade shows. So it's opportunistic. It's just based on luck. Sometimes people say things which make sense. It makes sense in the context of the competitor. It clarifies a point. So there are three sources of data here: the recorded, the observable, and the opportunistic. Let's have a look at these in slightly more detail. Now I'm not going to go through this in detail. I suggest you stop the video and make some notes from the screen. But essentially, under recorded data we have annual reports, press releases, newspapers, analyst reports, and so on. So these are what can be found without too much trouble. Observable, well, price lists, advertising campaigns, promotions, tenders, patent applications. It takes a little bit more effort to find that data. It's a little bit more obscure. It's observable, it can be found, but it just takes a little effort to find it, take it out. And the opportunistic data, as I said, meetings with suppliers, trade shows, internet, social contact, so on. Relies on luck to a large extent, but it is possible to find some information based in that direction. Now, what businesses would like to know about their competitors? Well, they'd like to know what the overall sales and profits are. Clearly, that's probably the most important part. How much are they selling, and what profit are they making? Secondly, what cost structure have they got? How are the costs worked out? How is it organized in terms of costs? How is the product produced, and how are the costs allocated between different parts of the production process? Nitty-gritty information about costs, that would help, because then the company can compare it with its own experiences and find out whether they are more efficient or less efficient. What's the market shares? How much of the market are the competitors taking? That's an important figure. How's the company structured? Internally, there's presumably the managing director, the CEO, and then there are departmental heads, and perhaps it's a hierarchical structure. But how is it structured exactly? What's the motivation within the organization? How does the structure facilitate efficient production? And is it structured in any peculiar way because of the nature of the product that perhaps that gives them an advantage? So how exactly is the business organized? And how is distribution worked out? What distribution channels do they use, and what's the costs, and what advantages have they got in distribution? And what's the profile of the senior management? Have they got a good track record in business? Have they managed businesses before, and have they got the ability to make this into the market leader? If it's not already the market leader, have they got the capacity to outcompete the rest and perhaps take over the market? In other words, how important are the senior management, and what are their skills and histories? And is it something they should be worried about? How much do they spend on marketing and advertising and promotions? How much do they spend on this, and how effective are they, and who does that work for them? Is it outsourced? Presumably it is. But how effective are their campaigns, and why are they effective? And what do the customers think of them? And how well does the product that they produce satisfy the customer needs and give the customer good experience? So what level of retention, customer retention, have they got? How satisfied are the customers with their product? And how much do they spend on R&D and new product strategies? That's an important question, because that's an indicator of their intentions for the future. It also is a statement about their intended investment plans. So it's important to know that. So this is what the business would like to know about its competitors. As to whether it can get that information is a different question. We've seen that there are sources of information that can be got. There are sources of information that some might want to use, but which are not ethical and not legal, and therefore should not be considered. But there are a whole range of possibilities that are legal and decent and straightforward that the company may use. And the most common one is to simply observe or track the business at the moment and try to work out from that any patterns of behavior over a period of time to try and judge what the company is doing. And that really is the essence of practical business. That's the way businesses seem to run in the world in which we live. Okay, that's about all I want to say for this session, so let's leave it at that, and thank you for watching.